Hey, 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 coming on live today. Candice here. For some reason, it feels like a long time since I've spoken to you gals, but it's not that long. So as you come on, what I love to do is for you to announce yourself, let me know you're there. And I always love it when you give me thumbs up or hearts or give me some sort of feedback. That really feeds me at my end. Grab yourself some tea whilst we're waiting for people to come along. I know I've got this very sexy, not so sexy, but it is what it is, tea cozy that an old boyfriend's mother gave to me a long time ago. You know what? It really works. It's really functional. So I'm having some tea today. Catherine, hello, honey. Haven't seen you for a long time. Aw, I miss you. I know you've been through a lot. Maybe we should catch up quickly on the phone. Yeah. Hello, coming on. Grab yourself some tea. I am sipping a bergamot vanilla tea with some almond milk and some stevia. It's just what I wanted today. Liv, hello. Who have we got there? I think that's Karen. Is that Karen? This is me learning Russian here. Is that Karen? That's the Russian translation, at least. Oh, okay. Cinemari, hello, welcome. Maya, hello. Thank you for all the love. Love the love. So let's just grab some tea and we'll start in 30 seconds. Good. Lauren, hello, dear. Welcome. So announce yourself if you are here. We're talking about a bit of a juicy topic today, okay? Juicy topic today, which has to do with dealing with strong emotions from feminine power. So just give me a second. I just need to do something quickly here. Give me 1 second. That's annoying. So that I can help you, I need to do something. Whilst you're grabbing yourself some tea so that I can be clear on what we're talking about. Okay, good. Perfect. Some reason the technology is running very slowly this morning, which is super duper annoying. Okay. Beautiful. All right, I got it. And I should have done this beforehand, but I didn't. And here we have it. Okay, and there's one more thing that I need to put in there. Okay. All right, love. Sorry for the delay. I am always very respectful of your time, and I want to make sure that we make this time valuable for you, okay? So, okay, good. So what we're talking today about is dealing with strong emotions from the true feminine, okay? And how this ultimately relates to feminine power. So you know that the work that you're doing here with me and the work that I do, in my private trainings, the Powerfully Feminine Intensive and the Your Rise and Your Queen programs, is all about tapping into your inner feminine power, which is the true feminine power source, okay? There was a bit of a thread on this page about makeup and the like. You know what I call the adornment side of the feminine, clothes, makeup, shoes, that kind of thing. It's great. It's just an adornment part, and every woman gets to decide how she does that piece for herself, okay? So I've got no judgment either way about that. It's just that it's not this work. The Powerfully Feminine work is about tapping into the inner feminine, okay? Your inner feminine power. So its topic today is dealing with strong emotions from the true feminine. And what I'm going to be covering off with you today is what happens when you suppress your emotions, and why learning how to have an empowered relationship to your emotions is really important as you're learning about feminine power, yeah, and how that will awaken you. and then what you need to do to plug in, turn on, and fill up as a woman. Now, if you haven't already done this, there's a link here in the description. I really encourage you to take the Feminine Archetypes quiz. There's a link there. It's powerfullyfem.com/quiz. And by taking the Feminine Archetypes quiz, you are actually going to learn about the 4 feminine archetypes, and you're going to learn about the true and the false feminine in great detail there. Okay, so please take the quiz after we finish up here today. Let me just double check who is here, and then I will dive on in. New comments. Okay, we've got also, who else have we got here? Sinamari, Maya, Chelsea, Claire. Oh, Claire, hello, long time no see. Karen, I think that's right. Pamela, Talisha, Nyla, and Lauren. Beautiful, beautiful ladies. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, good. So let's start here. You know, the thing is, as women, whether it's some experience or story that we carry in our body in this life that may be from early childhood or from something earlier, or just the fact that for centuries, there were centuries where the feminine wasn't just suppressed, it was outright destroyed in the world. We were drowned for our power and our healing. We were burnt at the stake. Our sexuality was cut off from us. So there's something that, whether it's this life or past lives as women, that we still have somehow inscribed in our body that to express our power is dangerous, right? So the reason why I'm starting there is I want us to think of feminine power, just for this metaphor, as a volcano, right? And what we have learnt to do, if we carry this belief that it's dangerous to express the full force and power of the feminine, that we'll get hurt, damaged, destroyed, that we need to have it capped down, locked down, suppressed, unexpressed, whatever you want to call it, hidden, right? That we all carry that to a certain extent. And so one of the aspects of getting into your feminine power is this process of firstly recognizing that you are not fully expressed as a woman, and that we have this cap on the volcano, right? And the cap on the volcano is your own version of what has made the decision that you need to lock that down, cap it down, lock your power away. Don't show it, keep it hidden, don't express it. Now, how do we then uncap it? Often the first phase of allowing it to be uncapped is where these kind of wild, big, forceful emotions need to start to move in you, move through you, in order that you start to get in touch with the full depth and richness of the molten lava below, okay, that's inside you. And that is really represented as this, what I call, we plug in as women to get into the true feminine power, and then we turn on and we fill up. So we want to fill up on the force, the fullness, and the richness of life force that's held in the molten lava, okay? So let's start with what I said. What happens when you suppress these emotions? If you continue to insist to keep the cap on the volcano, to keep this locked down, to keep this suppressed, there is a world of malaise that this causes for women. One of them is depression, okay? Women end up really depressed when they're not feeling their force and their power. They're not embodying their true feminine energy, okay? So depression, it leads to falling into the false feminine or staying in the false feminine and feeling very frustrated and combative, feeling like you have to fight or push for the things that you want, right? And then thirdly, on the health level, it just causes just a massive array of health problems from us, from starting with the obvious sort of things like period pain, right? So problems with menstruation, period pain, it can cause problems in pregnancies for women. It can cause birth problems, difficulty in birth. So the feminine related things become problematic, whereby if you were tapped into your power and your force, they would not be problematic and they wouldn't need to be. Other things that I say again and again is this just whole array of physical, medical problems that have started for women just in the last 50, 60 years. And that's very recent in the, span of human time, if you think about it. But for example, since we entered the workforce in the late 50s and the early 1960s, so the statistics have shown a massive increase in female-specific cancers since the 1960s. I think the percentage is a 60% increase. So again, it becomes an attack on the breasts, breast cancer. It becomes an attack on the ovaries, ovarian cysts, etc. It becomes an attack on the uterus where there's polyps and uterine scarring and all of these kind of things. So can you see how there's this pattern of attack on the feminine things? Now, there's also other things, there's the depression, there's the effect on our relationships, the divorce levels are off the charts, all these kind of things, right? So the ramifications of remaining trapped underneath this are just dire. They're really not good for you. You don't want to be going down that track. So what this portends to is getting into a relationship to these emotions that can come up, okay? So sometimes you'll have this experience where you feel this kind of out of control or this surge of emotion. And I'm doing this motion like this because the surge comes from the base of the body, what's called the base chakra, okay? And it can just surge in your body like something comes inside you, like a surge of emotion, a surge of rage, a surge of anger, or a surge of grief, a surge of sadness, right? And if we are to repress that, to go, that's not okay. It's not okay to be emotional. It's not okay to express this emotion. You are continuing to put your will into suppressing and capping that volcano off, okay? Now, a really important key here, because the topic today is dealing with strong emotions from the true feminine, right? Now, here's a really, really important distinction for us as women, okay? And a distinction between the true and the false feminine that I must make here. Being emotional in a way that throws your emotions outward at somebody else through attack, blame, drama, demands is not owning your emotions. It's not owning the force inside your body. It's an energy of blame that you throw outwardly, okay? Now, a key component here is to catch is something or someone or an incident or a circumstance. It can be a text, it could be an email, or it could be what somebody says right in your face, could be the trigger for the emotion. But if you feel an emotional response to a trigger, that is on you, not on them. Okay? Let me be clear. If you want to own yourself as a queen, you own the force in your body. Okay? So if we're in a phase of these emotions needing to move out of you, they're going to be a bit wild for a while. They're going to move and they're going to be kind of wild and crazy and a bit out of control. God forbid we could be out of control a little bit, right? But it's okay. It's okay to let it be wild and out of control and let the volcano explode for a little bit, right? That's okay. You just don't explode it out on other people, okay? I wanted to be clear that this does not give you permission to become a total dick and an asshole to other people. That is the realm of the false feminine. What you do is go, oh, I feel rage right now. I am feeling rage in my body right now. You are owning that. Even if you become very, get mastery of the true feminine, you can learn to say that in front of somebody that does not throw it at them. You can even say, oh, what you just said makes me feel so angry. I feel angry. I am angry. This doesn't blame them. This doesn't throw it at them. This doesn't vomit it all over the place around the world around you and make everybody else uncomfortable. Can you see the difference here? And I really want to stress this distinction. Now, your ability to get into this commanding relationship to when emotions surge in you is you stepping in your queen, okay? Can this happen overnight? No, it cannot, especially depending on how big that cap is of you. You need help, support, facilitation, mentorship, and community to help you do that, okay? Because collectively as women, if we're agreeing that we need to suppress these emotions, that these are dangerous, or that if you don't understand the distinction between owning it in yourself and throwing it at somebody else, then you're lost. Now, if we agree as a community that it's okay to feel strong emotions, and that when you share this emotionality, this force in you, it may very well trigger somebody else. Now, that is not your responsibility. If you're really owning it and somebody else, it actually triggers something in somebody else, it's not your responsibility, their response to that, okay? Now, I say in my YouTube channel, when you have the courage to go out there and shine, this gives others permission to do the same. Now, when we shine from inside out as women, this also means we turn up in our truth, we turn up authentic, and that will not necessarily trigger a positive response from other people. Everybody, when you be in your truth and your authentic power and your force and your energy, that may actually trigger negativity in them. It may trigger their own blockages, because I want you to see it like a big light. So when we unplug this volcano, there's a lot of light that comes out. There's a force of light, and that light will illuminate people around you. And they have to be prepared to own their own stuff too, right? Now, obviously, I go into this in great depth, and we have a whole methodology inside the Powerfully Feminine Intensive Sisterhood with which to do this. And I'm not sharing that with you here because we've got people that have enrolled in this thing yesterday. This is not the place to do it. But I did want to start you thinking, start you reflecting on where you suppress yourself, what judgments you have about emotions, how you deal with them in yourself, and what it's going to take to actually own this and to decide that this is not good or bad, okay? Now, standing up in your queen doesn't mean that you suddenly become perfect. It doesn't mean that you never react again. It doesn't mean that you don't feel strongly. In fact, I'd submit that when you stand in your queen, you actually feel more. You feel a much broader spectrum of emotions, of feelings, of love, of ability, of authentic shining of yourself. And this is what we want, right? This is actually what we want. Okay, so what I want to do right now is check in with you and see where you're at. Melina, Melissa, Mandy, Ruby, Liv, Juanita, Mandy, Talisha. Okay, let me just see if I can read a few of these things. Liv says, before summer, I was a maid. Now I'm happy to be a priestess. I've done a lot of work to change. It feels more like the true me. Beautiful. Good evening, Juanita. Mandy says, oh my God, I grew up doing that, throwing my emotional responses on others. Thank you for sharing this information. So helpful. Absolutely, honey. Talisha says, something had a trigger this morning. Instead of reacting, I sat on it and felt the emotion. And the thing I want to emphasize in what you just said was felt the emotion, okay? Because when we feel the emotions in our body as women, we start to own the force of power behind it. So think of the emotions are in the cap on the volcano, and the power and the force is in the lava. Okay, and that is you. You want that. You want to feel that. Catherine says, heavens, my volcano may have blown its top months ago, but I still have aftershocks moving through. Well, it's an ongoing process. It's not like we unplug the volcano once. Sometimes it comes up again and again. I'm into feeling more of everything. Isha, hello and welcome. Karen, amazing content. Good, good. All right, so let's just open it up for any questions at this point, my loves, whilst we have a little tea break. Drinking our tea together as we do, sharing tea. I'm getting a lot of love from you today. Thanks, honeys. I love feeling the love. So the thing is, I've been doing, I've been a therapist, a very specific type of metaphysical type of therapy with people for over 20 years. So for me, in the work I do with myself and my own spiritual community and how I work with my private clients, I facilitate this work with my private clients. Now, also, I'm learning how to facilitate it through the Powerfully Feminine Intensive Sisterhood in groups, okay? Because you see, the one thing I've noticed is there's one thing to have your therapist witness you, and it's great. And there's a lot of power when you dive in very deeply and, you know, in a nuanced, fine way with a really good therapist. But when we do it in this sort of, I'm sharing myself with all of you, that takes a lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability. Wow, you know, wow. I teach this process called the reveal method inside of the Powerfully Feminine Sisterhood. And it's a process where we learn in sisterhood how to identify the sensations in our body, right, firstly, and then we identify the emotions underneath that, and then we talk about what's going on. Because what we tend to go to, isn't it, we just go into the thought. So you have an emotional response and you think, I'm angry because you said this. We've already gone to the mental decision about why we're feeling it. Now, that's totally disempowering to you, first and foremost, and it's really disempowering to anybody around you, okay? However, when we as women learn to identify the sensations in our body, own the emotions, feel them inside of ourselves, however uncomfortable they might be, right? This is actually en route to you becoming an empowered, true feminine woman, okay? And when you do that, it's going to be a very different response you get from that around you, okay? So you can't guarantee somebody else's response, but you're not going to get pushback in the same way as if you just start what I call emotional ping pong. You know, ping pong is that table tennis. Can't remember if you call it ping pong or table tennis in America. Okay, but when we play ping pong, we just bat this little ball over the table. So if something comes at me and it's an attack on me and I just whack the ball back at you and just attack you back, and then they're just going to whack the ball back at me, we're playing emotional, false feminine, false masculine ping pong. That you can see is a lose-lose scenario. Now, I'm not saying that this gives permission for people to pelt balls at you and you just stand there going, oh, and be glorious, right? This is not to make you a doormat to people. But when you don't respond and you recognize that if I say this thing, it's just going to go nowhere, I'm going to own what I feel in myself right now. And sometimes we need to separate ourselves from the situation, own the emotion, gain clarity. But when we're in what I call an unconscious reaction, it's going to go nowhere, right? And so as we learn to stand in our queen, we learn to own everything that happens in our body, all the sensations, all the emotions, and then we are presencing the force, the energy, and the life force that is behind that. So it doesn't stop at the emotions. If there's one thing I want to end up here with today, is there is a force of energy and power behind the emotions and the emotionality. And if we block it, if we judge it, and even if we throw it out and vomit it out around us, we are not tapping into the force, the energy, and the power behind it. Okay, let's have a look at you gals. Melissa asks, how do I get over feeling that I share, I think you said when you share your emotions that your partner will reject you, or anyone else for that matter. Can you see the difference I'm positioning here today, Melissa? Is you own the emotions. If your partner does something and you say to them, what you just did hurt me, you're blaming them for their actions. There's a work, by the way, I could put you towards that's called Nonviolent Communication by a man called Marshall Rosenberg. I saw him live. He's actually deceased a couple of years ago. Beautiful body of work. And it's all about learning how to identify the difference between the trigger and the response. And when you learn to own the response in you and you presence it and you be with it, you will learn to have a very different type of conversation. Okay. With my partner Thomas, we've had triggers. We've triggered each other. But what I love about him and him about me is we own our shit. We own what's happening inside of us. And what that leads to is a very different type of conversation. Wow, when that happened last week, or when this happened, whoa, that abandonment charge got really hit. I was feeling really wobbly and sad. You're sharing of yourself in a way that is not projecting or blaming the other person. Now, let me be clear, Melissa, there's a lot that it takes to learn how to do this well, but I just wanted to start with that for you, okay? Okay. Senamari says, hang on, there's a lot here. I recognize the triggers and I know it's on me how I react to them, but sometimes in a situation it is so hard to keep myself together so I'm not throwing an unpleasant reaction toward the other person. For example, the other day my guy said something to me that triggered a very unpleasant feeling in me. He immediately wanted to cuddle, but I wasn't able to because of the feeling I was having. So I just told him I need to sit with my feeling before I can proceed. He went on telling me how it was so hard with me because of something like this. So it left me feeling crappy because I thought that was the best thing I could do in that moment. Not sure how to let him know that I'm doing a lot of work on this. Okay, so look, sometimes, Senamari, we need to sit with it. And sometimes we need to separate ourselves out if we're having a big reaction. But I don't know what your love language is, and this is something I teach in other trainings, but his may very well be physical touch too. So he wanted to connect to you in that moment. And you see, my sense is, and this is just my vision on you, that if you'd let him cuddle you, hold you, you would have actually felt emotion. You would have actually let yourself feel the emotion, the sadness, and let it move. He wanted to actually connect to you in that moment. So in my take on what you've passed to me, it's only in a bit of text there, I would have let him come to me even if it felt uncomfortable. I would have let him hold me, and I would have felt what may have started as discomfort and then let the emotionality move. Okay? All right. Lots of questions today, ladies. This is a big one. Hey, Amy. Hey, Julia. Karen says, Candice, you're truly teaching feminine wisdom. Melissa, hello. Thank you, Karen. That is Karen, isn't it? This is my learning Russian. You're teaching me a little bit of Russian here. So, Mandy, I think I may have responded in my response to Senamari there. Okay? All right. So let's just finish up here today, because I've essentially wanted to pass that, you see, I think sometimes what happens is you believe that the false feminine which, say the princess, for example, the princess is very emotional. She creates a lot of drama and a lot of stress, and because she is throwing a lot of emotionality, but she's doing it through an energy of blame and externalization. Okay. And the queen, let's not put some sort of stress or pretense that the queen suddenly arises into some sort of perfection where she never feels emotion again, that she never gets triggered again. In fact, see, the queen owns the emotions. She lets herself be vulnerable, okay? And she's willing to open. So when I spoke about the ping pong match before, one of the reasons why I don't continue to play emotional ping pong with somebody is because I know that it's going to go nowhere. And I have this statement, this concept that I've carried for a long time, especially in relationships or close friendships, is this phrase: do I want to be right or do I want to be open? And so if there's intense emotionality going between two people, I can stand in myself. I can feel what's happening for me. I can feel what's happening for them. And I can choose to create opening in myself. I can want to open to this person. I know I love them. They're not the enemy. And I know that in the background that they're not the enemy, and that they're actually probably very clumsily trying to connect to me, right? So if they haven't learned the feminine arts and skills that I teach in the Powerfully Feminine Intensive trainings, and they don't know how to identify these things, then they're going to be clumsy. So as a queen, I can be compassionate to them and I can choose to open. Now, let's be clear. This does not give people permission to behave like assholes, as in if somebody's really consistently, constantly behaving badly toward you, then maybe you need to create some separation in that relationship for a while, okay? And I can promise you one thing that happens when a woman stands in her queen, her inner circle often changes because her sense of her boundaries become very clear, right? About who is safe inside and outside of her boundaries. Okay, good. So thank you for all the questions today. Lots of very juicy questions, and this is obviously a good topic. So I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, take the Feminine Archetypes quiz. It's got a lot of juicy information. I send you some other follow-up emails about the other feminine archetypes so that you can learn all of them, so that you can identify them firstly in yourself and in others. It's a super powerful model, and I hope that you take the quiz today. So my loves, sending you much love from my heart to yours. I love interacting with you. I love it when you turn up live, and I love it when you bring your questions. If you're watching this on the recording, please do ask questions. I will endeavour to answer them if I haven't here on the live stream. So sending much love, and I will see you next week. All right, bye-bye for now.